So, my relationship with anime is kind of weird. I've actually watched a lot of anime ever since getting addicted to Pokemon at 10 years old, when everyone my age got addicted to Pokemon at 10 years old. But I've never delved super into the anime culture or the anime fandom. Probably because we still only had 56K back during my weeaboo phase. I never thought I'd be thankful for that. Recently though, one of my friends got really back into anime. We've been watching a ton of the new shows airing this season. Combine that with the fact that my sister, who's always been into anime, recently showed me both Annie chart and Annie list, which makes it easy to keep track of the anime you've watched as well as discover new shows, and I've actually been pretty much on top of anime this season. So much so that I can actually make a video about it. So, here we go. I'm Tommy Oliver, and this is my top 5 favorite anime that are currently airing.
Number 5. Tokyo Ghoul.
Tokyo Ghoul is shaping up to be the archetypal shonen of the summer season, and depending on your perspective, that's either good or bad.
The concept of Tokyo Ghoul is that in modern-day Japan, there is a species of creatures living in humanity's shadow called ghouls. Powerful monsters that, while appearing to be normal people, can only survive by feeding on human flesh. Originally just a normal college freshman, Ken Kaneki is turned into a half-ghoul when a freak accident forces doctors to unknowingly transplant the organs of a ghoul into his body to save his life.
I know, a shonen series where the main protagonist lives in a world of flesh-eating monsters and unwittingly becomes one himself? Wherever have I heard this concept before?
The twist of the show comes from the fact that, despite being easy antagonist bait, the majority of the ghouls shown so far have actually been rather sympathetic, though the expected holier-than-thou, irredeemable antagonists are in the mix as well. And the exact same goes for humanity. The series seems to be striving for a both sides are equally flawed angle, which could be interesting going forward if done right. The reason I don't rate the show higher though is because it feels a lot like a typical shonen, with a lot of plot points happening seemingly out of convenience and nothing else, and the main character sure to become an overpowered badass as the show inevitably starts focusing more and more on combat.
Although, that point pretty much guarantees Tokyo Ghoul a large following, so if you're into that sort of thing, I'm sure you'll enjoy it.
Number 4. Free, Eternal Summer. A continuation of Free, Iwatobi Swim Club, which aired last summer season, Eternal Summer again rejoins Haru, Matoko, Nagisa, and Rei as they continue their high school experience and participate in their swim club, of which they are the only members, along with a club captain, a muscle-obsessed girl named Go. Unlike last season, which focused a lot on rekindling friendships, competitive versus casual sportsmanship, and growth from childhood to adolescence, the central theme of Eternal Summer seems to be the idea of facing adulthood, and the place for one's passion when faced with adult responsibilities. The group loves to swim, but none take it nearly as seriously as their other friend Rin, who returns from last season as well, still determined to become a professional swimmer. The show goes out of its way to reinforce that because of the group's focus on their swim club and their friendship, their futures are relatively directionless, even with graduation fast approaching.
Overall, while Free continues to be a series that focuses primarily on exploring a character's relationships with each other as well as indulging in some self-referential humor, Eternal Summer seems to be shifting focus a bit and exploring a bit more serious and possibly more somber subject matter. That alone's enough to keep me interested to the finale.
Number 3. Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun.
A comedy series that isn't afraid of making fun of itself, Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun is a fun, lighthearted series with a great cast of characters and a great sense of group chemistry.
The series revolves around Chiyo Sakura, a high school student who has a crush on Umataro Nozaki. The show begins with Sakura attempting to confess her feelings to him, but due to poor phrasing, Nozaki misinterprets her confession as mere admiration for his shoujo manga series he draws. Sakura ends up getting involved in helping Nozaki with his manga by working as his inker, and meeting his other friends who work with him on the book, all while trying to figure out a way to express her feelings to him properly. Each episode in the series so far is rather sporadic, jumping around a lot from scene to scene and purposely lacking any sort of narrative cohesion, focusing more on loosely connected gags and slice-of-life scenes, rather than a continual concrete story. So it comes as no surprise to me that Nozaki-kun is based on a series of 4-panel webcomics, rather than the more traditional manga. While the series doesn't miss a chance to poke fun at the genre that Nozaki works to create, the lack of a central narrative is doing a bit to keep me disconnected. While the show is largely a comedy making fun of romance, and as a result never misses an opportunity to earn a laugh, a part of me can't help but want to see some more time dedicated to an actual bond forming between Nozaki and Sakura, rather than using them as a backdrop for a barrage of jokes.
Overall though, this is a series that can be enjoyed by anyone who enjoys slice of life or comedy shows. However, your enjoyment will be even greater the more familiar you are with the shoujo concept that the show continually pokes fun at.
Number 2. Zankyo no Terror. Zankyo no Terror tells the story of two high school students, referred to only as 9 and 12 thus far, and their mysterious plan to challenge the Tokyo police online as an organization called Sphinx, leaving cryptic riddles to be solved before a bomb goes off, destroying a building somewhere in the city. Seemingly able to outsmart the entire police force, the only variable Sphinx didn't anticipate was one of their classmates, a timid young girl with a troubled home life named Lisa, stumbling upon them in the middle of the act, effectively roping her into their conflict. What Sphinx's plan is, and how Lisa's involvement will affect it, remain to be seen. The series is incredibly slow and methodical, to the point where it can easily start to turn some people off after a couple episodes of very subtle world building and character development. This certainly isn't a show for those who want non-stop action. The series' biggest draw is its sense of intrigue it presents. What are 9 and 12's motivations? How is Lisa's presence going to affect the outcome of the series? Who is Shibasaki, and why does he seem to know so much more than the rest of the police, despite being relegated to the records department? Despite teasing us with slivers of 9 and 12's going-ons, we're largely in sync with the perspective of the police, and their revelations are our own as well, with the added perspective of 9 and 12 teasing us with the knowledge of a greater purpose for everything. Questions, and the promise of slowly revealing answers, are the show's greatest asset.
Overall, Zankyo no Terror is a technical tour de force in every single aspect, and for those of you that have the patience to sit through it, promises an engaging, complex mystery to solve.
Number 1. Barakamon.
Okay, I'm going to freely admit that I'm a little bit biased on this one. If you aren't an artist or don't dabble in any kind of creativity whatsoever, then flip this one and Zankyo no Terror around. For anyone who is creatively inclined though, pay attention because this show is pretty much required viewing.
Barakamon follows Sesshu Honda, who everyone in the show actually just refers to as Sensei, a 23-year-old professional calligrapher who has just moved from Tokyo to the remote Goto Island at the behest of his father after an elderly curator harshly criticizes his work for being unoriginal, to which he responds by decking the old man in the face. While initially resentful towards being sent away, he quickly begins to lighten up to the idea as he gets to know the island's residents, most notably a 7-year-old delinquent girl named Naru, and the quiet, more serene pace of life on the island begins to teach Honda things about himself and his relationship with his work. What's utterly brilliant about Barakamon is how it uses its central characters as a metaphor for the inner musings of the creative mind to remind us all what really matters. Honda, the adult who is used to the fast-paced city life and pressures of Tokyo, is all the stress one accumulates when pursuing the arts. Things such as self-doubt, harsh over-criticism, blinding oneself to their own accomplishments, and constantly measuring one's own self-worth by comparing your achievements with those around you. Honda is the voice in every artist's head that tells you you can't do it. Conversely, Naru, fittingly enough, represents the childlike innocence and freedom of unfettered self-expression. Her actions throughout the show are raw, childish, and impulsive, which makes sense considering she's 7 years old, and usually remind Honda why he's so passionate about calligraphy in the first place, because he loves it. She's the joy of creation, unhindered by outside perspective. For every time Honda would ask why, Naru instead asks, why not?
Barakamon is a love letter to the artistic spirit, especially to the ones that may have been battered. If the show continues to deliver this level of quality and thematic resonance for me, it probably will end up not only my favorite show of this season, but one of my favorite shows just in general. If you're even slightly interested in the arts, I implore you, stop this video right now and go watch Barakamon. And that's all I got for this top 5. Remember, the choices in this list are just that. My choices. Not only will my choices not always reflect your opinions, but they shouldn't. Where's the fun in that? If you have some choices that aren't on this list, let me know what they are in the comments below, as well as the reasons you picked them. Till next time, I'm Tommy Oliver. Stay curious.